My name is Ernie. Welcome to Proof. You'll find me here just about every day of the week, as long as that day is Sunday, and as long as I'm not hugging a palm tree somewhere. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite spirits. It's a distilled spirit. It's a wonderful spirit that, okay, wait a minute. Sorry, someone's already done this one. Let me just, fermented from sugar, and it's, geez, that's not what we're talking about. Marketing genius. Sorry, give me a second. Rum. In the French Caribbean, known as rum. In Spain, known as ron. It's my brother's name, but my mom named him after rum, and maybe that's where it all came from. Rum is a distilled spirit, and it's actually made from sugarcane in juice, molasses, anything in that field, that'll give you rum. It's a very dark style of rum. If I take another, put them side by side, you'll notice there's color variation here. That's a more aged rum. Well, not really. We have classifications for rum. Pretty well none of them really give a valid classification. What's the source of the sugar? Is the sugar cane? Is it sugarcane juice? Is it molasses? Everything will influence the taste of the rum. But corn lends other flavors, rye lends other flavors, as does sugarcane. In the way of chemicals that are not necessarily bad, because the world is full of chemicals, but these impart flavor and aroma to what the product becomes in terms of taste, but also in terms of time. Let's take Bacardi. Everybody knows Bacardi. As a matter of fact, if you're gonna go and buy rum, you're probably gonna make one of the biggest mistakes. Oh, did I say that out loud? And buy Bacardi. Bacardi's yeast works very, very quickly and efficiently. Create the process of fermentation to happen in a period of days, if not less. There are yeasts in Jamaica where they work on Jamaican rum. There's a Jamaican rum and there's a Jamaican rum. They sit and they act for a month or two. And the process of flavor maturation that happens there yields a very significantly different product than what happens in a period of days. Pot stills, you've got column stills, you've got multi-column stills. Just as they make a difference in Scotch and Irish whiskey and all the other distilled spirits in the world, they also make a difference with rum. Depending where the rum is made, they may tend to go more to pot still, which gives you more of an intense, funky flavor. Column stills, very efficient production, but perhaps a lighter flavor. It's gonna go into a barrel. What kind of barrel? Is it a used barrel? Is it a new barrel? Is it American oak? Is it European oak? What's the depth of char? How long is it going to be in the barrel? There's a lot of stuff going on, and you can see there's a lot of variables. And if you vary all those variables, which is what you do with variables, you vary them, you're going to make a lot of different kinds of rum. Distilled spirits, through the process of fermentation, most of the sugar is used up. Process of distillation, effectively, there's no sugar left. When people say rum is a sweet spirit, you have to understand where the sweetness comes from. If rum is sweet, there's two things going on. The aromas that bring the congeners, the esters out from the rum that is being barreled and blended will give you the perception of sweet, just as rye will give you the perception of spiciness in your distilled spirit. The other thing that can make rum sweet is they can actually add sugar to it. But at that point, is it a rum, or is it a liqueur, or is it something in between? So when we talk about rum, careful what we talk about. Are we talking about rum as the pure distillate, the pure spirit, or are we talking about rum with additives? And then we start to compare apples and oranges. As well as sugar, they might add color. A little bit of respect might be lost if the producer doesn't tell you what they're doing. If the producer does tell you what they're doing, that's a different story altogether. One of my favorite producers, Plantation Rums, they tell you. They make excellent cognacs. They're a French company, and they tell you that they add sugar, but they tell you what they do, they tell you how they do it, and they tell you why they do it. Appleton Estates. Appleton is one of my favorite distillers of all time from Jamaica. They effectively add little or no sugar to most of their quality products. And if you taste the products side by side, you'll notice a difference. It's not good, it's not bad, but you'll notice a difference. All right, let's talk about a few different rums for a second here. White, brown, black. But what does that mean? There's a lot of variation here that really isn't described by color. For that matter, isn't described by age either. The taste of rum, the quality of rum has so many factors affecting it. Little has to do with what we think a rum is. There we go. Through the beauty of editing, we have yet another rum to show up. Let's take two white rums here. Plantation 3-Star. It's a blend of 3 rums from 3 different islands. Wray and Nephew, it's a highly proofed rum, also a white rum. These two rums couldn't be more different. If you were to sip them side by side, One would give you a warm feeling inside and make you feel good about rum. One will give you a feeling of where's 911 and how fast do I get there. They're both excellent rums. They both have their purpose. They're both white rums, but one has flavors from the esters, got a funky taste that is very, very different from the smooth and mellow that Plantation will give you. Rum is aged 12 years. One of them tastes as a 12-year rum. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're both aged 12 years. One might be, one might not be. They're both unsweetened, they're both straight rums, they're both excellent, they're both worthy of your palate. But you have to know that aging is dependent on so many factors. It's dependent on what type of barrel, how long it's in the barrel, and one more thing we didn't touch on earlier is where is the barrel? A barrel in the Caribbean is subject to climatic conditions that are very different than a barrel in other parts of the world. A lot of rum is aged in Europe. Climate in Europe is very different. So the rum that ages in Europe is going to go through different fluctuation in temperatures and a different temperature range than what's in the Caribbean. Caribbean aged rum is going to come out differently than let's say, a Plantation, which is often aged in Europe. When you say color of rum, we think of a dark rum as being aged longer. Well, this rum here is possibly aged less than this rum, which was aged and charcoal filtered. This is a rum that might be about 2 years old, but then it's heavily colored. Burnt caramel to add mouthfeel, to add a bit of taste, and to add color. Who else does that? A lot of fine Scotch makers add caramel for consistency of color. If you can have a 12-year-old rum, or you can have a rum that says 12 on it, but it might not be 12 years old. If you can have a rum that says 3, but it's not really 3 years old, it's a blend of rum from 3 islands. You've got a rum that has sugar, you've got a rum that's got coloring added to it. Well, rum's got no regulations, it's got no laws, it's got nothing telling you what you can do. That's not unique. If you go to Martinique, the regulations are even more so stringent. They have a system of regulations similar to what they have in France for wines and cognac. They're very heavy regulated in what their rum can do. So in effect, the rum world is regulated, similar in that all spirits are regulated. It's just not that there's a world governing body, but there isn't for anybody else either. I go to buy whiskey, I got the Scotch section, I got the rye section, I got the bourbon section. But when I go to buy rum, it's all over the place. Would it not make more sense to have a Jamaica section, for example, or dark rum, or a pot-stilled rum, or a long-aged rum? How do we define how we should categorize our rums? It's a difficult question. Where does that lead to? What kind of rum should I get? Depends what kind of rum you want. I had too much rum.